Okay, we'll call to order the special meeting of the Planning Commission. This is Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. If I could get a roll call, please.
Commissioner Grant,
Present.
Commissioner Marhoffen,
Here.
Commissioner Nindell,
Present.
Vice Chair Duffel,
Present.
Chairman Griffith.
Present. Okay, and I've been hesitant simply because Commissioner Grant has not been here in person. It's a little difficult to do over the airways, but I would ask her, would you mind leading us in a Pledge of Allegiance tonight, Commissioner Grant?
If I remember it.
Okay,
Hold on.
thank you.
Hold on. Do I remember it? Please forgive me. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, for justice in which it stands. I don't.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. I've just been waiting for you to take your turn, so.
My apologies, Chair. I didn't know. I'm just still under the guidelines, the COVID protocol. So my apologies if there's been an inconvenience.
No, not at all. It's easier if you're here in person. I've been waiting. I didn't want you to think I was ignoring you, but I figured since we're still under that protocol, I'll go ahead and bring you in regardless, okay?
I did wonder, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, at this time, we have approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion from Vice Chair Duffel. Do I have a second?
I'll second
I
that.
have a second from Commissioner Nindell. Can I get a vote, please?
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Marhoffen,
Aye.
Commissioner Nindell,
Aye.
Vice Chair Duffel,
Aye.
Chairman Griffith.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, first up on our agenda is minutes from the, it's a special meeting, but it's regular meeting of October 12th, 2021. Do anybody want to do a motion to accept them as is or any corrections?
Motion to accept as presented?
Thank you, Commissioner, or Vice Chair Tuffle. Have a second, anybody?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant has a second from Commissioner Grant. Vote, please.
Commissioner Grant,
Aye.
Commissioner Marhoffen,
Aye.
Commissioner Nindell,
Aye.
Vice Chair Duffel,
Aye.
Chairman Griffith.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, we'll entertain public comments. Pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission not listed on the agenda. Do we have anybody for public comments tonight?
We do not at this time.
Okay, in that case, we will move on to our first and only public hearing. The draft housing element, sixth cycle housing element 2021 to 2029. If I could get a staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair and members of the Planning Commission. The item in front of you tonight is the draft housing element. If we can, it is okay. We have the PowerPoint on the screen now. Again, this is the draft housing element, sixth cycle housing element for the years 2021 to 2022. If I can get this to work. There we go. Thanks for the technical assistance. So first, I like to start with the acronyms that are very common through this process. For the benefit of the public, I just wanted to go through what HCD, SCAG, RENA, and DHS, obviously DHS, City of Desert Hot Springs. But the Department of Housing and Community Development through the state of California has a division of housing and policy development. Their job is to say what number of housing units would be needed to provide housing throughout the state of California. They are in charge of that number, and that number in the state is pretty high. Then it goes down to Southern California Association of Governments, and the SCAG region is comprised of 6 different counties: Riverside, Los Angeles, Orange, Ventura, Imperial, San Bernardino. So those 6 counties, of course, we are within the Riverside County. The number assigned to the southern region is 1.3 million units, approximately a little bit more. So out of those 1.3 million units, SCAG was tasked with assessing the number of units that each city would be required to provide. Our number here through the Community Economic and Human Development Committee through SCAG assigned to the city of Desert Hot Springs 3,873 units. That's the number of units that Desert Hot Springs is required to be able to provide zoning for, and that number is broken down in different income categories as well. And I'll get into that in a minute. So for the discussion tonight, I just wanted to break down the components of the housing element, the section and appendices, and that's page 2 of your staff report. There's section 1, section 2, the housing programs, and then the appendices that go through assessment of housing needs, assessment of fair housing, size inventory and analysis, governmental constraints, non-governmental constraints, housing resources, and a progress report. The progress report has to be done on an annual basis, and we've been doing that and we'll continue to do that. Now, the next item on the slide is the sites to accommodate the city's share of the regional housing need. And those sites identified are what Skyborn specific plan is, Tuscan Hills, the RM, multifamily residential medium density, and the RH, the multifamily high residential, the MUC, zoning designation mixed use corridor, which allows for residential multifamily. And then those are along Palm Drive, and also Marvella was taken into account. If you recall, this was a 402 complex that was just recently approved. And then the number there for 402 units is taken into account to meet that number of the 3,873 units. Then Appendix C, again, that provides you with the sites that were identified by the consultant so that we are able to provide the number that was assigned to Desert Hot Springs. This slide here breaks down the number of units assigned to the city, 3,873 units. As you can see, there are 5 different income levels. Those income levels are assigned through a different mechanism, through the different departments and state and things like that. So we are going to be able to provide 284 units were extremely low, or 7.3%. The very low is 285 units, or 7.3%. The low number of units is 535, or 13.8%. Moderate income, 688 units, or 17.8%. And the above moderate, 2,081 units, or 53.8%. That gives you an idea of the breakdown based on income levels that the city was assigned to provide. As far as CEQA, and for the record, I'm going to read this screen in front of you so that we have it on the record, because there are 3 different exemptions that we're able to take to comply with the CEQA process. And again, if you bear with me, I'm going to read the whole sentence, the whole screen here, so that we can have that noted on the record. So for CEQA, the project is exempt from CEQA Guidelines 14, California Code Regulations, Section 15061B3, because it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the adoption of this resolution is in question may have a significant effect on the environment as set forth in Section 2108.0.17 of the Public Resources Code. The project involves policies, programs, and actions to meet the city's RENA allocation that either would not cause a significant effect on the environment or incorporates actions that have already been taken by the city pursuant to the general plan amendment, as defined below. Based on these factors, it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the proposed 6-cycle housing element would have a significant effect on the environment. Therefore, the 6-cycle housing element is exempt from CEQA under the common sense exemption. Number 2, the project is exempt pursuant to 14 California Code Regulations Sections 1562A of the CEQA guidelines. Once an EIR has been certified, no subsequent environmental review needs to be completed unless there are substantial changes in the project that warrant additional review. After a duly noticed public hearing on May 26, 2020, the City Council adopted and approved a general plan amendment pursuant to the CEQA Public Resources Code Section 21000 and its implementing regulations, California Code of Regulations, Section 15000. The city, acting as the lead agency, reviewed and certified a draft environmental impact report, State Clearinghouse numbers 2019-080101, prepared for the proposed general plan amendment, and determined that following the implementation of certain mitigation measures, the fifth cycle housing element was part of the environmental review and EIR process of the general plan. For this project, the sixth cycle, there are no substantial changes that warrant additional review. And number 3, to the extent the regional housing needs determinations are made, the project is further exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, Guidelines 14 California Code Regulations, Sections 15283, which provides, CEQA does not apply to regional housing needs determinations made by the Department of Housing and Community Development, a council of governments, or a city or county pursuant to Section 65584 of the Government Code.
If I may just make, if I may, Mr. Chair, interrupt just momentarily. You will also see very similar CEQA findings. We actually go into them a little bit further in the resolution. And the resolution, if the Planning Commission adopts the resolution that this evening, it's found on, I have it on page 249, I think it's on the of your packet, and it just goes into the CEQA findings, even into a little bit more detail, just for the record.
Thank you for that. And with that, the recommendation that staff is making is asking that the Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the City Council that the City Council adopt the draft housing element for the sixth cycle, 2021-2029, and the transmittal of the draft housing element to the State Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, to start the 90-day review period. That concludes staff's presentation, and we're available if you have any questions.
Thank you for that. Do we have any questions for staff from any of the commissioners? I see none. I have one just for clarification purposes, and it's not really included in this giant report. There was some note in the initial review regarding certain zoning. With the passage of the state law, I know it's not addressed in this, but I would imagine for future housing elements, the fact that now they can do multifamily in single-family zoning, that will in fact provide more housing sites than we currently have listed, correct?
Excuse me, that is correct. In fact, the ADUs count as part of meeting those RENA numbers. Now with SB 9 just recently passed by the legislature and then the governor, that would actually provide for potentially additional number of units in what is zoned now for single family, because now single family owners could subdivide their lot into two, meaning that the housing production could be there. That's one of the reasons why the SB 9 was presented and passed by the governor.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else?
I have a
Commissioner
question.
Meyerhoffen.
To get some clarification, you say subdivide a residential lot now into two, or are we talking about taking a residential unit and turning it into a duplex?
I'm gonna,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, oh, sorry about that. Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. Sorry, that was from last night. So SB 9 is a new law, is what the chair was talking about, and what Mr. Carrillo was talking about. SB 9 has very specific clauses in it, and basically it takes effect January 1st, 2022, and it provides that for persons or land that zones single-family residential, persons may actually subdivide their lot into two and create 2 units per lot. So that's a very nutshell, very, very short summary of a very long bill.
Thank you, that was good clarification.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none at this time, I will open the public hearing and take public testimony. Do we have anybody here for public testimony tonight?
We do not, but we do have the consultant, Kristny Barilla, here, if you'd like to ask her any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the consultant, Ms. Barilla? I see none. Okay, at this time, I will close the public hearing, and we will have some discussion. And any other questions for staff? Does anybody have anything they want to add or discuss? I think Ms. Mizrahi has something to add.
I do, and I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, thank you for your indulgence. The recommendation says that Planning Commission recommends, which is absolutely accurate, but there is also a resolution that is attached to the packet. So what the Planning Commission would technically be doing is approving the resolution to recommend to the City Council.
I have something I'd like to say.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Meyerhoffen, you have a question?
I hope that the website for the city will have all this information for all these different programs. I know some of them are pretty complicated, but it's important that even code enforcement has that knowledge of who might need help with some of those programs. So I really be looking forward to an update, maybe another 90 or 60 or 90 or 6 months or something like that, as to how these programs are coming and what's going on with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyerhoffen. Anybody else have any discussion? Seeing none, I am happy to entertain a motion for the resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution and recommend that the City Council adopt the transmittal of the draft housing element for the sixth cycle 2021 through 2029. Sorry, let me restate that. I fumbled my notes here. Motion is to approve the resolution and recommend that the City Council adopt the draft housing element for the sixth cycle 2021 through 2029 and the transmittal of the draft housing element to the State Department of Housing and Community Development to start the 90-day review period.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion from Vice Chair Duffel and a second from Commissioner Grant. Thank you. Could we get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Meyerhoffen?
Aye.
Commissioner Nindell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Duffel?
Aye.
Chairman Griffith?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, at this time, has anybody popped on for public comments?
No, still no public
Okay.
comments.
And do we have any Planning Commission member reports? I think Commissioner Grant, last time you had some and you wanted to hold off till tonight, is that correct?
I have a few, if you don't mind. I don't want to take up all the commissioners and city staff time.
Sure.
So what I want to say is I've been working with Councilman Nunez and Mayor Mattis to establish Parks and Recs Committee. Additionally, I've been attending, and had the opportunity to talk to people that from Long Beach for ADUs, Casitas Coalition. I've had that opportunity as well. And then I wanted to let everybody know that we're having a Day of the Dead. So I just want to share that with you all for November the 6th, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Commissioner Grant. Anybody else have anything to add?
Um,
Commissioner Meyerhoffen, please.
I was at the Public Safety Commission meeting the other night. And the reason that brought me there was I was listening to one of their meetings, and they had some questions about planning and actually what we look at, don't look at, and some other things. And so I went there, and it was they are looking into some of the traffic issues and some of our concerns that we have here. So it was a nice time to go back to where I originally came from. The 3 years on the public safety here is a big change. But that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyerhoffen. We appreciate that. Anybody else? I have one thing. Tomorrow is the State of the City address. It is an event put on, I believe, by the Greater Coachella Valley Chamber of Commerce. They have a is it a what's it called, a business exposition there, and then we will have the State of the City. I know I will be attending. I see Vice Chair Duffel, Commissioner Grant, I'm not sure if you will be attending by Zoom or not. Commissioner Meyerhoffen will be there, as well as Nindell, and hopefully we'll see most of the rest of you. Are you going? Except for Ms. Mizrahi. So that's all I have. Anybody else have anything to add? With that, this meeting is adjourned. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful October. Happy Halloween. We will see you next November.